Rev up your engines!
Chirac says, Scotty, have you seen the guys making funny videos of you? Well, I normally don't have any time to watch other people's videos, but every once in a while I look at them, and most of them are pretty crappy. They're not funny. I've seen a few that were hilarious, and I did laugh at them. But I mean, people use swear words and just stupid music. Most of them are just dumb. But I've seen a few of them where the guys would dress up like me, and they were relatively funny. Hey, I got a sense of humor. I'm not Donald Trump. If somebody makes a funny thing about me, I will laugh my rear end off. I think it is funny. But most of them are sadly just poorly made, and they're not all that good. But I've seen a few of them that were pretty funny. Dominicus Danya says, Scotty, I want to buy a 95 BMW 3 Series. I hear they're very reliable, not much electronics. Is that true? Well, even a 95 has a lot of electronics on it. I mean, it's got electronic fuel injection, electronic ignition, even the air conditioning system is electronic controlled. But back in 95, the 3 Series BMWs were better made. There's no arguing that. I still got customers driving them around, the ones that really take care of their vehicle. But realize it's a very old vehicle. If you're thinking about buying one, don't buy one if it's got, over 200,000 miles on it. It's going to wear out and cost you a fortune. But if you can find one that's got 100,000 miles or so and you can get it cheap enough, go right ahead. Just realize they have no resale value, so don't pay a whole bunch of money for them. And don't believe anything the owners tell you about them, because everybody always lies about, oh, here's the mileage, it's never been wrecked. You want to do a little research with any of those research companies like Carfax to see if it's been wrecked, flooded, stolen, see if it's the real mileage before you put on any money on an old car like that. Anthony Martinez says it's a Chevy El Camino, a good project car from the 80s. Are they good quality, easy to work on? Or even a Dodge Rampage. Well, we can get a Dodge Rampage, but yeah, those El Caminos are great cars to work on. They got simple Chevy parts. My son's got one in Nashville. One of the houses that he rents out, the guy just left it there, so they took it. Since you don't need state inspections every year, you can just drive them around forever. And if you keep fixing them, you want to fix them. And this car, truck, station wagon combo. If you do get one, get a V8 though. The V8s are the ones that are worth money. The 6s, yeah, and they're kind of slow. But the V8s, those are the ones that you'd want to get if you wanted to get one. Sigsy178 says, Scotty, I got an 08 Expedition. It jerks when easily cruising between 40 and 50, like it doesn't know what gear to go into. When hard accelerating, it's smooth. What's going on? Well, your transmission has a problem. That's just typical. It's, an 11-year-old Expedition, and the transmission is always the first thing to go on those. You might want to try changing the filter and fluid. It might help it a little bit and give it a try. But since it only does it between 40 and 50, it's a transmission. If you had like an engine's problem, ignition coil or something, it would do it at all same RPMs in any gear. But if it only does it at that speed in that gear, and it's like hunting for gear, it's the transmission starting to go out. Now, a lot of guys will just baby them and they'll live with it, because to rebuild that transmission is an awful lot of money. Do it right. So a lot of guys are liars, and they'll say, I can rebuild it for $900. Then they take it apart, and then by the time you're done, it's more like $4,000. Danny Martinez says, Scotty, what do you think about BG products and services? Well, there are very good cleaners. I used to use BG cleaners all the time, but then they got really hard to find. For a while, I did a little research on the company, and for a while, they were only selling it to mechanics. They wouldn't sell it to people on the street. I guess they're now selling back on the street, but they make very good cleaners. As an example, I had a customer who had a Toyota Corolla that had 300,000 miles, and I knew the fuel injectors weren't working right because it didn't run right. When I hooked up my fancy scan tool, I could see the injectors weren't working right. So he said, well, I got this BG cleaner. I says, let's put it in. Well, we put it in, and then he drove it a couple hundred miles, and he came back, he says, it run like a clock now. And I drove it around, and it was. So they do make some pretty good products, BG. It's just hard to find them. When I was a kid, you could buy them anywhere. We used to have it at my father's Texaco gas station. We sold it on the counter, but it got harder to find over the years. John Fraticello says, Scotty, I got a 2012 Corolla, and the left side blows hot air, and the right side blows cold air when I turn on the AC. I recharge it. The right side is very cold. Okay, if you are sure that you have the right amount of refrigerant, the only way to do it, you can watch my video how to fill your car's AC with refrigerant. You suck it all out with a vacuum pump, then you put in a factory load by weight or volume, and that's it. You got to do it that way. Now, if you did do that, and it's still blowing hot on the driver's side and not on the passenger side, which is freezing cold, then you got a problem in your blend doors on the driver's side. It's stuck, and it's not opening up to let the air blow through the AC evaporator on that side. But from my experience with those things, 99% of the time, it's just that it doesn't have the right amount of refrigerant, so that the passenger side, which is closer to the evaporator, takes most of the cool air. By the time it makes it over to the other side, then it's blowing warm air. But like I say, if you got an actuator stuck and it's not letting that air go over to that side, you'd have to take the dash apart for that, and that is a royal pain.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.